And this broadcast brought to you by 106th Street Tire and Wheel. Get your automotive stuff done at 106th Street Tire and Wheel, located in Corona, New York, 11368. We are officially live here at True to New York Sports Studio with Billy the Knowledge Punch, Brian the Big Heads Isaac, and Louie, the most handsome man in the planet, DiMartino. We cannot hear Brian talk. That's okay. What is everybody up to today? How are you guys doing?
Guys, it's a big week here. I mean, most of us are focused still on the NFL, us Giant fans, the New York Giants. Great win yesterday.
Great win.
But it is definitely time to get back here and for us to start talking some baseball. We are not far off from the start of spring training. The Yankees start spring training 30 days from today.
Right. Yeah, pretty wild. Considering that I felt like the World Series was literally yesterday, and now we've already had some crazy offseason trades and teams acquiring new players. Carlos Correa has been on about a third of every single of all of MLB over the last few weeks. So we got a lot to talk about in the New York sports stuff, right, Billy and Brian, who's not here?
It's just nuts. We'll actually get back into Correa in a little bit. We'll wait for Brian to get back because I'd love to hear his take on it. But Lou, let's start off with a little bad news starting for the Yankees already. And we found out yesterday that Frankie Montas is going to miss the first month of the season with shoulder inflammation. I mean, it's just insane now at this point with this guy. I don't know what the Yankees do. What were they looking at in the spring? I don't know.
So honestly, what I'm going to say right now, Billy, is that Frankie Montas has always been a very good Oakland Athletics pitcher, right? We were like, oh, we would love to have Frankie Montas, especially him against the Houston Astros. We're looking forward to it. He's already shown that he's having trouble pitching in New York. He might have even been hurt before he came here. And now he's going to be out for the first month, and he's supposed to be our fifth guy. And on paper, Frankie Montas being the fifth starting pitcher for your rotation is supposed to be a good thing. But he's already looking like a potential bust for us. And you know what's going to happen? When the Yankees don't sign him, he's going to wind up being a great freaking pitcher somewhere else.
The crazy thing is, Lou, I got to be honest, I'm wondering if I could even say bust because I don't know if this guy ever was healthy. And that's the biggest thing. That's the one thing that just boggles my mind is did we get a healthy starting pitcher to begin with?
Right. 100%.
Like, I can't play if somebody's going out there and he's pitching and he's not pitching well because he's hurt. And that seems to be because now this is the second injury he's had as a Yankee. And it's not, it's not making an excuse for the guy or anything. It's really it's the reality of the situation. Like, there had to be some sort of medical reports. Something cleared him. Something cleared this trade. He had to have passed the physical or something. I'm really wondering how. That's my biggest question is how did he pass a physical with the shape he's in right now?
Honestly, no idea. And he had one or two good starts with the Yankees. And then obviously, but my thing though, Billy, is this actually a thing where he's hurt? Or is this a thing where he's just not that good? Because I feel like there's excuses for good pitchers who wind up not doing well.
I'm not going to buy that one. I don't think there's anything wrong with him. Right. I don't think there's anything wrong like as far as not being good or stuff like that. Excuse me. Let me clarify what I was going to say. He's hurt. The Yankees would have all the faith in the world. I'm sorry. They would have all the faith in the world going into the season with Frankie Montas as their number 5 starter. They would have no problem taking the risk on that. But the fact of the matter is the guy's not healthy, and that's the problem. And hopefully this is something they can get it out of the way. Hopefully this means, by the way, that he's pitching for the Yankees in May and not first beginning his version of spring training in May, because that gives you, then you're talking mid-June, you might not see him till. So we'll get a little more clarification on that, hopefully, as spring training grows closer. But it's definitely a concern. And hopefully, lingering injuries are the worst kind, especially in your starting rotation. We do still have Herman. We still have Devi Garcia. We do have some depth in there in the starting rotation.
Gil too. Gil.
Yeah, Gil should be back this year. Like there is definitely going to be some options out there to fill in for Montas throughout the start of the year. But he's a guy you want to see what you could get out of Frankie Montas because he could be one of the better starting pitchers in the American League if he is healthy and he's back to pitching like the guy he was in Oakland.
I agree. Brian, what's your take on this? Driving, but what's your take on
this? Listen, do I think a fifth starter matters for the Yankees all that much? No. I mean, they can get away with having bullpen days every fifth day. I don't think it's that big of a deal. You just want them healthy. And the biggest issue that Montas, I think, has always had is, being healthy and being healthy when it counts. You're going to need him in the later months, in the dog days, when you can't get away with having 4 starters in a bullpen game. When rainouts start happening, and they always happen in April, May. You always tend to get rainouts here and there, and then you're doubling up in August. You're playing 8 games in a week and stuff like that. I mean, my opinion is Montas, just get him healthy, get him right. And if it takes until June, I really don't see it being that big of a deal.
I think it's more I'm disappointed in the whole thing because we traded to get him. And now it's one of those things where it's kind of like a Kevin Brown, AJ Burnett situation where you get the guy and he's hurt he's hurt when he gets here, and then they're not the same pitcher before they got here. And listen, not for nothing, the New York Yankees, there's always high expectations. And Frankie Montas coming to New York had very high expectations considering he had a winning record last year with the Oakland Athletics, who were an awful team. Not this year, just passed, the year before. And he had like a 3 ERA with a not great Oakland Athletics team. And I know that doesn't affect him as much because its ERA is his own personal thing, but it's still the whole point of being on a shittier team, not being really on the spotlight. Like, now is your time to shine, to show that you are a major league top pitcher, and all there's been with you is 9 out of 10 talks about you have been negative, because the only time that we ever spoke good about Frankie Montas is when we got him in the first place.
Exactly. And I mean that's what it's gonna come down to right now. It's gonna come down to Frankie Montas is gonna be mentioned. It's gonna be injuries mentioned with him as far as his time with the New York Yankees right now. You're not, until you get a stretch of him taking the ball every 5th day and pitching well, you're not going to hear anything positive. You're going to hear the injury talk, and that's all it is. And I do believe, again, it's not making excuses for him. I think that it has a lot to do. His performance last year has a lot to do with he was never 100%. I don't know what he was in Oakland, to be honest. None of us on here were really following the Oakland Athletics to find out what he was doing to break down every start he made. But I don't know that he was ever healthy when he came here.
Right. And that also causes some concern. Where was it that Brian Cashman just said, fuck it, let's get him because we need somebody at the All-Star break? Or was it that Oakland fucked us?
I don't believe Cashman did anything wrong there. I don't believe that he got doctors to pass him through a physical and all this stuff went on. There's too many dots that have to be connected to make a trade go through. It's not just Cashman picking up the phone to Billy Beane and saying, I want Montas. What do you want from him? Oh, here it is. Oh, cool. Get him on the next plane to New York. There's a lot of things that need to go into it. And I don't believe they ignored any of those things to just say, oh, we need to make this happen. I don't believe that to be the case at all. And, just going right into the next subject of guys with a ton of red flags where a team did not look to make it happen. Carlos Correa, he was a Giant. He was a Met. Now he's back with the Minnesota Twins. My opinion on this situation is the Mets did the right thing here in Washington. I believe there were medical concerns about him with this ankle. Apparently, he came out and made a comment that, we had the same thing that, the Mets used the same specialist the Giants did. So what did they think they were going to find?
Right. Yeah, Brian, what is your intake on this Carlos Correa thing?
All right. So here's the deal. I'd be upset. I would. I'd really, really be upset. But we do still have Escobar at third base, who had a very, very good. He was actually the best Met in September. If you really go from about September 1st to the end of the season, he was the hottest Met in the lineup. And without Correa there, it kind of unblocks Beatty a little bit in order to get a platoon situation there. Escobar was hitting lefties much better, and Beatty obviously has a left-handed bat. So, I mean, getting Beatty at bats at the major league level without having to have him DH, you're probably going to have Alvarez up, DHing a bunch. There are only so many at bats to go around with the DH. Now it kind of unblocks third base a little bit to get those guys the at bats, and especially to see what you have in Beatty. I mean, here's a guy who, if he didn't play, if Correa was here, all Beatty would be is trade Beatty in July. I mean, that's what he would be. He'd be trade bait. That's all he'd be in July to bring in a possible third arm, a third starter, depending on how Senga, pans out. I mean, getting out from under 12 years, $315 million, it's not my money. What do I care? I mean, it doesn't matter to me whether it's Cohen saving money or not here. It's just a question to me of, are they better off? They're obviously a better team if Correa is there and healthy. But are they better off long-term figuring out what this kid Beatty is and getting him the at-bats he needs at the major league level to find out?
See, and my biggest question with that, Brian, is I look at the Mets and go, when Steve Cohen bought this team, he claimed he was going to model this after the Los Angeles Dodgers. They were going to sign veterans to short-term contracts that was going to allow them to develop their own players as well. It would not impede the development of their young players. This Correa signing would have done exactly that, though. That's what would have happened. Beatty wouldn't have had a position. You would have had guys in the minor leagues block. Your infield, 3/4 of your infield was probably, because let's be real, the Mets are going to do what they have to do to sign Pete Alonso after this season. The 3/4 of your infield is now booked solid, being paid top dollar for the next decade.
So I'm going to say one thing on this whole Correa situation. Last year in the playoffs, the reason why the Mets were chewed out was because a lot of people felt that you guys just did not have the bats, right? You didn't have the bats. All you had was Lindor, all you had was Alonso, and you had a hot Escobar during the playoffs, and that was really it, right? If you got past Alonso and you got past Lindor, you knew that you were going to be okay for the most part. My thing now is that you almost had Correa, and I would have said the Mets are 100 times better. But now that you lost DeGrom and you basically replaced DeGrom with Verlander, right? And you got a couple of other extra starting pitchers, who did you really get at bat? You haven't really gotten anybody. And the only thing I'm going to say is that, now you can use Beatty and you can use Alvarez as a way for them to develop into that Mets lineup. But as far as playoffs go and World Series contentions go, you guys really didn't get better. And not having Carlos Correa hurts you, in my opinion.
No, and that's something I said when we had our show right after the Mets were eliminated from the wild card, is that the Mets needed to get better and the Yankees needed to get better. And to me, the Mets replenished. They brought back Diaz. Verlander replaced DeGrom. They did, but they did better. And I said, when the Correa signing was announced, I said, this makes the Mets a better team. And it did. But now, what they're doing is they're taking the faith right now that they can have a turnaround, that maybe Starling Marte not missing a month and maybe Escobar starting the season better than he started last season. Maybe that's enough. And you know what? I don't know if it is.
I don't think it is either. I really don't think it is either. I think the Mets are a playoff team. Yes. Are they a World Series team where you have the Dodgers and you have the Padres and you have the Braves and you have the Phillies who just signed Trey Turner? You're not better than those four teams I just named right now.
I'm sorry. I'll make the argument that I think the Mets could be better than the Dodgers. The Dodgers right now, to me, are the Green Bay Packers of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, but they
They're
won 2
letting
years ago.
they're letting talent go. They're not bringing it back, and eventually that catches up to you. Look how that caught up to Aaron Rodgers this year. They let Devontae Adams walk away, gave him a bunch of rookies, and for most of the season, the Green Bay Packers looked terrible. The Dodgers are getting themselves into that. They lost Trey Turner. They lost Trey Turner and let Xander Bogaerts go to their division to a team that now has 5 major league caliber starting shortstops, and they don't have one.
Yeah.
So I'll make the argument. I believe the Mets are a better team than the Dodgers. The Mets might still not be a better team than the Padres, though. So that would still keep them maybe the 4th best team in the National League, perhaps.
Early. It's early.
Ryan,
Let's see what
you?
Beatty becomes. Let's see what Alvarez becomes. Let's see. It's one of those things that, like I said, it unblocks at bats for those guys. We still have Vogelback, who is, he is a DH. That's all he is. Let's be honest. He's never playing in a position. He's never playing in the field. But for the most part, it hurt that he left. The fact that, though, they went from 12 years 315 to 6 years 157, and they wouldn't go to 6 years 200. It kind of shows you everything that you needed to know about and the fact that he couldn't get more than 6 years anywhere else kind of shows you what everybody really thinks about his chances of a long-term kind of thing. Now, you're telling me again, Steve Cohen's 3 to 5 year window, right? That's his window, was 3 to 5 years after he purchased the team. He wanted to have a title. Well, we're pushing year 3 right now. So even he wasn't willing to eat that much more after this year, next year, the following year, in order to win this. And I can't really say that I blame him too much. Do I wish we had him? Of course. But at the same time, there's still time. There's still time to get better, especially in July, right around the trade deadline. They didn't do enough last year. Let's see if they do more this year in order to get them over the hump. 101 wins, a lot of years is probably good enough to win a division.
No,
it wasn't this past year.
I agree with you. And one thing I look at with the Mets is a lot of the talk I've been hearing is that Alvarez may not even make the opening day roster. They may send him back to AAA for more seasoning. And I can't figure out why. I can't figure out why there is not a spot of regular at-bats on the team for him. I get Omar Narvaez and Nito. You want them handling the catching? Fine. You can't tell me that you want to take at-bats away from Alvarez to give them to Daniel Vogelback. That, to me, is just ridiculous.
Yeah, first of all, and this is what I've been saying through our page in the offseason too, the Yankees and the Mets have to do the same thing. Let your freaking farm system just come up and let them just get bats. Having someone like Peralta come up and have them sit on the fucking bench, sorry to curse, for half the season and just pinch hit and start 5 games, what does that do? You might as well have them stay down in AAA and actually play. Just let these guys come up and develop a little bit. They're not going to develop because the pitching isn't the same and the hitting isn't the same in the AAA setting. Just let them play.
Brian, I'll ask you this question because I know what my answer is. I'm curious to see what a Met fan would say to this. Your first 100 at bats at the designated hitter position this year. Who would you rather see take them, Alvarez or Daniel Vogelback?
It would have to be Alvarez, but at the same time, I understand why they did what they did. They don't want to rush this kid. This kid is the number 1 prospect in baseball, not for the Mets. He is the number 1 prospect according to all the professional stat keepers. What I don't know, ESPN's top whatever. Yeah, every other top prospects, BPI, whatever it is. He's the top prospect in the majors. I get not wanting to rush him. I do. But at the same time, I agree with Lou. You don't learn. I don't know if there's any more he can prove and learn in AAA. I just don't know. And if that's the case, then, bring him up, but don't bring him up. And I think this is the whole theory behind it is you're not going to bring him up unless you're going to give him 30 at-bats a week, 25 at-bats a week. I don't see the point in bringing him up and giving him 10 at-bats a week. That to me doesn't do any good.
That's unproductive. I agree.
No, and you see, here's my biggest issue with this situation. I understand the don't rush. But in my opinion, the don't rush went out the window last year when you brought him up in your biggest series you've played since 2015 and put him in the lineup night one. And it wasn't an injury necessity. It was they were looking for a spark, and they went to him for that spark. If you had that much faith last August in him, I don't believe he did anything to dispel it. He was a rookie. He struggled in a couple of bats. I don't believe he did anything to show you this kid's not ready right now. I didn't see it. I didn't see any cause for it. You don't want him behind the plate yet. You want that to take some time. You got Navarez. You bought yourself some time. You got better behind the plate. That's one thing you did. You upgraded your catching situation with Navarez from McCann. Absolutely. But to say this kid can't come in there and be a DH, I'm not buying it. I think he can.
I'd like to see how it shakes out by the end of spring training. That's, all of this is great talk now. It is the middle of January. We're going to do this a few more times before spring training starts. We'll do it through spring training. Things like this tend to have a way of working out.
Absolutely.
I hope that's kind of what happens here.
Yep. I will go on record right now saying I want to see this kid force his way into the opening day lineup.
Well, here's my thing, though, too, is that let's say the Mets are going to go after somebody at the All-Star break, right? Because they're going to, especially if they're in contention. The rumors are, and all Mets fans are banking on Ohtani to come to New York, right? Like, let's be realistic here. You guys are probably going to go after Ohtani, right? Especially since he has a 1-year contract left. What happens if the Mets get Ohtani? You're probably going to have to trade Alvarez.
Oh, sure.
Right? So
Alvarez or Beatty or one of those types of guys, yeah.
But guess what? That's why you don't do it. You wait till next offseason when it only costs money.
Yeah, but
there's your answer right there.
But here's the thing. And again, it's all conjecture and everything right now, but you put Shohei Ohtani on this team right now, is there a better team in baseball?
100%.
They're the best team in baseball. If you put Shohei Ohtani on that team right now, you plug him in as a third starter and as your everyday DH against even it doesn't matter who he plays against, right-handed, left-handed. But if you plug that guy in as your third starter,
on your team.
You're the best team in baseball. There's no that's not even a debate.
The biggest thing is, and I can't imagine the team not doing it, but you have to make the argument and say, one of the big things with Ohtani is that if the team that acquires him, whether it be the Mets or somebody else, if they'll be willing to use him the way the Angels did, where they let him DH the day he pitches, and he didn't, he DH the day before he started. They gave him a lot of leeway and a lot of at-bats. There's going to be teams out there that may not do that. And the Mets may look at him and go, you know what? We only want him in the lineup 3 or 4 days a week. And that might be a difference maker as to saying, no, I'm not going to give up Alvarez for him. And to me personally, unless you're in first place and you're hanging on there and you're really like, this is the move that's going to put us in the postseason, in the World Series, I don't trade Alvarez and Beatty for him. I wait till next year. You have the owner capable of topping anybody's offer on the table, and you go for it. Because one thing's going to be for sure, you're not going to get a chance to negotiate a contract with him before you sign him, before you trade for him. That's not going to happen. You're going to have to go into the offseason with him. And taking the chance of losing him, and he doesn't want to be in New York and he wants to go back to the West Coast, whether it's the Dodgers or the Giants, look at how much money the Giants tried to throw around this offseason. Got to believe a team like that's going to be in on him.
I think the Giants are faking all that though.
I don't. They were in on. They were in on two of the biggest. They were in on two of the biggest free agents of this offseason, and they put the money on the table for both of them. Remember, the Yankees matched the Giants' offer to get Judge. The Giants put the offer on the table. Correa went to the Giants first. The Giants have money to spend. The Giants have the money out there. And if he wants to stay on the West Coast, they're going to be a player for Ohtani.
But that's another reason why I think if you let him go to another team during that trade deadline, you might not have a chance at him in the offseason because you're giving him a taste of another organization now.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to get to the point where it's costing you the top prospect in Major League Baseball for him because of the fact that there's no team control left. If this was last year, if this was this past trade deadline, you are 110% right because they had another year of team control, and any year of team control makes that trade value go up a lot. You don't see teams out there giving up top prospects for no team control or no years left on a contract anymore. It doesn't happen.
But my thing, though, is the catcher position as far as hitting goes, right? There are only a few catchers in Major League history over the last 40 years that have played consistent baseball throughout, right? You have like Yadier Molina, Mike Piazza. Like, those are just some guys off the top of my head that I can name, right? The catching position, I feel, is not necessarily a dead position, but you can replace Joe Schmo, whoever, at catcher. And honestly, right now, I think you have to get rid of your top prospect, Alvarez, for somebody like Ohtani, because Ohtani is only 28 years old. I think Ohtani is a rare talent, and I'm not saying that Alvarez isn't. I
understand what you're saying. I'm not trading my top prospect for 2 months unless I know this is what's good. This is it. This is what's going to take me. And I also know that the guy wants to be here, and I have a very good chance that he's going to take the big money contract my owner is going to offer him. I'm not risking my.
Well, that's got to be talked about beforehand.
Yeah, obviously. I'm not risking my top prospect there.
Really quick though, before we move on, if you were to just give me both of you, just give me a number. If you're to project what Ohtani's going to get on the open market AAV, what's the number?
10 years, $400 million.
No, I think the AAV is going to go up. I think the AAV is going to be somewhere in the 45 to 47 million a year.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I agree with the number, Lou. I don't think it's going to be 10 years. I think it's
I don't see they're not giving no pitchers getting signed from years being age 29 to 39 right now. You might get another contract. Let me finish. You may get another contract if you're performing still at that age. Nobody's guaranteeing that 10 years in advance anymore.
I think 7 or 8 years at almost 50 million a year.
I agree with you. I agree that could be very, very realistic because he's going to topple everybody else because of the fact he's a top of the rotation starter and one of the better bats in baseball. Now, before Lou's head bursts, let's let him speak.
He gets 10 years, $400 million. And you want to know why? Because the guy is still one of the best hitters in baseball. And when his arm starts to deplete, you know what you can do with them? You put him in the fucking bullpen. And now you have Shohei Ohtani in the bullpen pitching for you 2 or 3 innings a game.
I mean,
and they still have a great.
They did change the rules for that would allow him to. He can
do both
in the lineup, and he's treated as 2 separate players.
Yes.
That realistically could be a thing. But my whole thing with the 10 years is, Lou, look at all the guys that got those bigger. They're all younger. They're pitchers. We
just gave Aaron Judge a 9-year contract. He's 31.
I understand that. He's not a pitcher. We're not relying on Aaron Judge to throw 98, 99 miles an hour at 38, 39 years old. They get another contract for that if they can still do it.
I still think he's getting 400 million though. 400 million. I just think it's going to be 8 years.
Yes, no, I agree, and I agree with you. I think we're looking in the 7-8 year, but the 7-8 year barometer with between anywhere between 45 and 50 million. I'll up it. I think it's going to come in under 50, but 50 wouldn't shock me.
Shohei Ohtani is going to be a closer at 34, 35 years old because he can't pitch 8 innings anymore because his arm won't allow it. He's going to be an Edwin Diaz who can hit at 35 years old. That's what I'm saying, is that's why you give him 10 years, because you're going to make that money up. It's Shohei Ohtani. 10 years on one team, you're going to make that money up in the first year.
There's no doubt that you're not going to lose money on the contract. That's not the question for me at all. What I'm saying is that's not the way the game is anymore. It's not there. You're not giving these pitchers that up front. They're getting it later on with 2 and 3 year contracts. Look at Verlander. Look at Scherzer. Look at even DeGrom now. They're getting
the difference, though, Billy. The difference, though, is that Verlander's 39, DeGrom is 35,
right, and that's Billy's point.
That's my point.
But that's why you give him 10 years now. He's 28.
But they're not.
I don't think you give him 10 years.
They're not bringing you into 38, 39 years old. That will be your next contract. If you're still doing what you're doing now at 36, they're going to give you a 3-year deal. They're not going to give you those 3 years right now. They've seen it's blown up too many times. Cano, Pujols, Alex Rodriguez. Those contracts are done. They're not doing that anymore.
I wonder if there's a way that they could do a contract where, all right, your contract to be a pitcher for us is 7 years and this much, but your contract total for the DH for the last 3 years is going to be this much. And then if you're still pitching, we'll give you this much. And I mean, there's so many different ways.
That actually is not a bad idea. They might.
I mean, brings a lot 7 years, 7 years, $350 million to me would make a whole lot of sense. It pays him till he's 35, 36. And then if he's still an effective pitcher, plus he's still hitting 30 plus home runs a year, you know what? Now you can give him, 35, 40, 45 million again for the last 3 years. But, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, you're talking about a top 10 starter? I mean, are we going to consider him top 10 starter?
Top 15 minimum, yeah.
Top 15 starter plus a top 20 bat in baseball?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he does both.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to bring a lot of questions. But keeping it moving, speaking of questions, guys, we got to talk about the Yankees. And we got to talk about what's going on in the 2 glaring holes on the Yankees right now, which is shortstop and left field. Lou, I'm going to start it with you. Who do you think we are going to see at shortstop in the left field on opening day for the Yankees?
I'm kind of just hoping at this point, as a fan, I want to see Peraza at short, and I want to see Cabrera in left. What are the Yankees going to do? Probably have IKF at short and Cabrera at left. That's what I honestly think. I still think the Yankees dropped the ball a little bit about getting a left fielder. I would have loved to see Benintendi over there and then move Cabrera to short and then use IKF as a backup. But I think realistically, we're going to see IKF at short, Cabrera in left, who actually played a pretty good outfield for us last year. And I want to see more at bats from him anyway. So I want to see Peraza there because like I just said, I want to see our freaking farming system come up and actually get at bats and games in. But we know the Yankee mentality is not going to be that. IKF at short, Cabrera in left. And I hope that we get Peraza to kind of slowly migrate to short because, again, I would have loved to just have Benintendi in left, traded freaking Gleyber Torres, and then been able to have Cabrera and Peraza in the middle of our infield. That's just me.
I mean, I get it, but I get both sides of the Benintendi. I would have loved to have Benintendi back, but I get
$50 million. What is that? Just give him 16.
They didn't want to go 5 years. The money wasn't the issue. They did not want to go 5 years. And there was also a lot of stories, I don't know how true they were, that he didn't want to be here. So if the guy didn't want to be here, he probably never gave the Yankees a chance to even get in the ballpark anyway. But
yeah, he went to the White Sox.
To me, I'm looking at Peraza, and I'm seeing it as kind of like I just spoke about Francisco Alvarez. I want to see this guy go into spring training and force his way into the opening day lineup.
I agree.
That's what I want to see. I want to see him be the guy, like kind of do what Jeter did in 96. Jeter went into spring training and won the job and forced his way onto the opening day roster and forced Tony Fernandez over to second base. That's what they did then. I hope he gets the chance to do it now. Left field, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do there. I mean, I was hoping to see a lot of different things, a trade, some signings. And you know what we got signing-wise? We got Willie Calhoun, Billy McKinney, and Rafael Ortega. That's what they brought in that's going to be in the mix. Out of all of those guys, I think Ortega is the only one that might have a shot of making the major league roster.
That's not like Mantle Maris Berra or something like that. Those three guys. See, I think you guys are all going up the wrong tree. I think you're starting shortstop. You just mentioned it, Billy. Bring him out of retirement. Derek Jeter starts at shortstop and bring back Brett Gardner. Why not? Have him play left. He's probably still available. You could probably get him for like $5 million a year now. Why not bring back Brett?
101 win season, and I got to listen to this shit for another year. I mean, come on. But no, all kidding aside, this is sadly enough right now pointing to there's a very good chance we're going to see Aaron Hicks in left field on opening day.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I actually think it's going to be IKF and Aaron Hicks.
Like it or not,
I do.
He's still there. I think if it comes down to Cabrera and Hicks, as much as I'd rather see Cabrera, if
I forgot Hicks
even
existed.
On a similar path in spring training, Hicks is going to get the nod, and Cabrera is going to be on the team as like a super utility guy.
I hate to break it to you, Lou. I actually think you know who has a better chance at being the starting left fielder opening day for the Yankees? Giancarlo Stanton.
Maybe. You're right. I mean, but here, the Yankees, in my opinion, if they want to get better, you have to get rid of Torres. I fucking hate Torres. And I'm sorry, I know this is going in a different direction. Get rid of Torres. Let's get somebody else. And let's have our freaking farm system in our middle infield and have Cabrera out.
You know what, though? I mean, getting back to Brian's point for a second. I mean, Stanton's definitely not your long-term answer in left field. That's a fact. But if Stanton's out there opening day, it does open up some other interesting situations where you could turn around then and put Stanton in left field, DH Donaldson, and then you got Cabrera or DJ playing third base.
Yeah. I would, I guess. Yeah.
I more likely think it would probably be on an opening day if DJ's healthy and DJ's coming around in the spring. I got to believe it would probably be DJ, but I'd be okay with that. I'm not going to say I'd love it, but I'd be okay seeing that.
You are making Lou's head explode because he keeps having to readjust his hat.
I don't know. Yeah,
my hat. I know my hat is
it's ridiculous.
I feel my head swelling, and I'm just like, "Fuck, man!" I have this.
Now you know how
I feel like you. Brian. My head is fucking huge right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like with the Yankees, though, the main thing is left field. Left field's probably going to be a question all year. And one guy I hope to see get a fair crack in spring training at being the starting left fielder is Estevan Florial.
Yeah.
This guy has been bounced around the last 2 or 3 years, back and forth. I think he's out of options after this, perhaps even. But he doesn't get a fair shot. He gets 2 to 3 games. He gets one hit maybe in the 2 to 3 games, and then he's back on the bench until the guy he was called up for is healthy again, and they send him back to the minors.
Clint Frazier, anyone?
Exactly. Very, very similar to Clint Frazier. Very similar to a lot of guys that the Yankees have treated this way, and I just don't get it.
Andujar. We can keep going.
Andujar. Exactly. I don't understand why you can't just let this guy go out there, let him start the season, give him a month. If he wins the job in spring training, give him a month.
Right.
See what you got there. I mean, he was one of the top prospects in this organization. See what you got. I mean, I just don't get why they are so quick. That's my same thing with Peraza. Okay, you got us IKF as a stopgap last year. I get that. You did not want to commit for the last 2 years on any of the big-name shortstops because of Peraza and Volpe. That was it. That's where your long-term plan was, that one of them was going to be the Yankees' next shortstop for hopefully the next 8 to 10 years minimum.
Yeah.
It's time to see if at least Peraza. I know Volpe, they say, definitely needs a little more time, but it's time to see if Peraza can be that guy. And then you know what? If Volpe's down there in the minor leagues and Volpe's ripping it up, then you could turn around, Lou, and do what you're looking to do and possibly trade Gleyber Torres for something you need, whether it's another starting pitcher, whether it's a bullpen arm, whether it's an outfielder, something that you
Third
need.
baseman.
I don't think you're making that trade this year. I think we're riding third base out with some form of the combination of Donaldson, DJ, and Cabrera until we get Donaldson's money off the books after the season and just put that behind us. I don't think we're going to see anything else, at least big name anything else, come in at third base. But you're able to do it. You know, something's definitely not right with the Yankee-Torres relationship anyway, because I just saw they're going to arbitration over a $500,000 difference.
Right.
Wow.
I think he asked for 10-2, and they offered 9-7, I believe, are the numbers that I heard. I mean, for they settled every other arbitration case with everybody else on the team, except they can't get past a $500,000 impasse with Gleyber Torres. So that relationship there might be starting to sour between the team and him. I don't know. I don't see how you don't get past that. But again, I'd rather see right now, keep him to start the season, see if Volpe can take the job, see if even you need to, if Cabrera starts hitting it away, you got to find a position for him, hits his way into the everyday lineup, and then you could trade Gleyber for a need.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Now, let me ask you a quick question, guys, just so we don't have to get too much into it. Who is the Yankees leadoff hitter starting opening day?
I think right now, as we sit here today, it's Harrison Bader.
I don't mind it being Harrison Bader. The only problem with Harrison Bader is that his OPS isn't too high. That's what worries me about a leadoff hitter. Usually you want your best leadoff guy to be the guy who gets on base the most, right? He doesn't really get on base.
I mean, the only guy we got in that category right now is Aaron Judge, and I don't want to see Aaron Judge batting leadoff again.
I mean, if DJ's healthy, you might be able to put DJ there.
I agree, but they've gotten away from it. They've shied away from it for a long time. For even last year, remember, opening day, Josh Donaldson batted leadoff, and DJ batted fifth last year.
Right. Brian, why are you smirking? What did you just see?
Because it's Aaron Judge. Oh, the Rangers just scored. It's 2-0, but it's Aaron Judge. Your leadoff hitter is Aaron Judge. If you went that long last year, chasing the record, not chasing the record, I don't care. They didn't have the guy last year to put there, and you had him there. Who is the guy this year that you have all of a sudden? Has anything changed? I mean, has anything really changed with who you have? That, you know, maybe Bader, the way he finished in the playoffs last year. I mean,
that's why I think if he carries that over,
maybe.
I think he's.
But I think it's Aaron Judge.
I want to see it eventually at some point in the season. I want to see it become Peraza.
Yeah, I was gonna say at some point it should be Peraza.
I
think you got to go. At some point, it should be, if everyone is healthy, in my opinion, Peraza, DJ, Judge. I want Judge to be in that 3-hole. I really do.
Here's my and humor me on this, because I know this is not the way baseball has been, but I know it's the way it's going with the maximum 2 throw-over rule and all the new rule changes, stuff like that. If Judge bats leadoff for that team, okay, can he be the first ever 50-50 guy?
No. He doesn't steal enough bases to go 50-50.
I understand, but now with the maximum 2 throw-over rule, can he do it? I mean, he's on base enough.
To me, it's really going to depend on who's hitting behind him.
And whether they let him steal?
How much?
I mean, they could tell him, listen, we don't really want you to be stealing.
But one thing I'll say, I agree with Lou. I ultimately would rather see the Yankee lineup, with the middle of the Yankee lineup, be Judge 3, Rizzo 4, Stanton 5. Because they're obsessed with splitting up Judge and Stanton, which to me doesn't really make a difference, because you're not doing anything different pitching to the 3, 4, and 5 hitters in the Yankee lineup. Like, splitting them up isn't going to alter what pitchers do, what you're going to do with them. Those are your bats. Those guys are up there to hit. So I don't see why the obsession exists with having to split them up. But if you have to, I'm okay going 3, 4, and 5. Judge, Rizzo, Stanton.
I think you got a bet. I think you have a better chance of Judge, Rizzo, Stanton being 1, 2, 3.
No shit.
I'm just saying the way baseball's going now.
Some ways you might be right. But all right, guys, moving along from that, we went from the lineup. Now we're going to go to the bullpens, the Mets and Yankees bullpens, and some of the questions out there. I want to start with the Mets. The Mets did they brought back Diaz. I told you guys before the offseason started, Diaz was the Mets' most important free agent to me, more important than DeGrom. I felt he was the 100% guy they had to bring back. They added David Robinson, who, I mean, the guy continues just to pitch well. He's a lot closer to the end than he was to the beginning when he was a Yankee. David Robinson is still a good major league player. They brought Ottavino back, which they needed to do. But, guys, after that, it's a lot of question marks to me. You're looking at guys like I'm looking at the roster right now. You got
Robinson. Not Robinson. Peterson, right?
Back out there. Eliezer Hernandez, Brooks Raleigh.
Lugo's not with the team anymore, right? Where did he
go?
go?
Lugo signed somewhere else.
Denny Reyes, Tommy Hunt is back. Brian, who do you see out of the collection that's currently on this roster?
I mean, right now, your 5 innings.
Step up and be,
Your 5 innings is probably your starter, and then it's probably in that order. It's probably Peterson, Ottavino, Robertson, Diaz. I mean, that's probably you're going to get some kind of mix and match of those guys in the last 4 innings. And you know how Buck is. Buck's not conventional. He'll throw Diaz in the 8th inning if the 3, 4, and 5 hitters are coming up in a 1-run game, and he'll let Ottavino pitch the 9th, or he'll let Robertson pitch the 9th. It's the nice luxury of having Robertson there is it's not the 9th inning's not a surprise to him. So, Ottavino was really never a closer. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Ottavino's never really been a closer. He's always been more of a middle relief kind of guy, 1 inning, 7th, 8th inning kind of guy.
I think he did close for like a year in Colorado.
But he's not a Robertson. This is something Robertson had done for years. So having him be your 9th inning guy when you need to pitch Diaz in the 8th, or you maybe need to pitch Diaz in the 7th. We've seen that happen too. I mean, you've seen Buck bring him in anytime that the big hitters are coming up for the other team in a tight game, 1-run, 2-run game. You'll see those guys. You'll see Diaz in those innings. I mean, after that, it's going to be whoever steps up in spring training. I mean, maybe you give some of these, kids a look. I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be rough to see what they're going to do, if they have a lot of I think you're going to be banking on Scherzer and Verlander a lot of times, giving you 7, 8 innings to where you can only need 1 or 2 of them tops, on the days that they pitch.
Yeah, I mean, you're asking a lot there. You have Scherzer, who missed significant time the last 2 seasons with injuries. Verlander's in year 2 back from Tommy John surgery at 39 years old. That's going to be a lot to ask. If there's one area that I feel the Mets most of all need to add to right now, it's the bullpen. I think they have to bring in at least another solid bullpen arm before the season starts.
Yeah, I agree with that too. You need another middle reliever, middle to long reliever.
Exactly. I mean, Carrasco isn't actually the poster boy for healthy less than 162 games either.
I mean, not for nothing too. The problem that I don't like, and maybe this is just an old school mentality, is that every freaking starting pitcher now only goes 5 or 6 innings max. I mean, what was it last year? The guy who won the Cy Young for the NL last year, what was his name? The guy from the Marlins.
Fernandez.
Sandy Alcantara.
Sandy Alcantara. Right. Sorry. Yeah, Fernandez was like 8 years ago, Brian. Yeah, and he's dead now, by the way. So
I know.
So
I literally picked the dead guy.
You picked the dead guy, yeah. So
cross him off then.
So here's the thing. I think I'm pretty sure that Sandy Alcantara was like he was the only one in the MLB who had like 4 complete games, and everybody else in the MLB had like 2
combined.
Right, combined,
Right.
right? Nobody in the MLB goes longer than 6 or 7 innings max, right? And because everyone's worried about their arm and blah blah blah. So if the Mets are going to succeed, and you're going to have pitchers like Justin Verlander and Matt Scherzer, who are older and not going to pitch 6 or 7, 8 innings like they used to anymore. They're going to go 5 or 6 probably, right? You're going to need that middle reliever to really save their games. So, and you don't have that at the moment. You have the best closer in the game. I'll give you that, one of the best closers, but you definitely need another middle reliever or even 2 to help out a Scherzer and Verlander game when it's 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. And I don't think you have that right now.
Lou, the fact of the matter is they're going to have to pitch that with the way this bullpen right now. They're going to need that. They're going to have to pitch a minimum of 6. And I don't know how well starting a season like that, I don't know how well that bodes for you when it comes down to September and October. That's where you start getting real dicey. And these older guys, and rightfully so, they start wearing down. We watched it with Scherzer with the Dodgers. It happened. We saw it happen. We saw Scherzer go on the DL twice last year. Like I said, Verlander, this is year 2 back from Tommy John, and he's closing in on 40.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
He won the Cy Young, though.
Hey, take nothing away from him. He had a great year, but you're asking a lot of these older guys if you don't add to that bullpen. And then talking about getting into the Yankee bullpen after that, the Yankee bullpen has me curious. I mean, right now, as it stands today, Holmes is going to start the year as the closer. You have Michael King's going to be back. You have Loizaga. I think, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if one of those 2 guys ends the year as the Yankee closer, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, and I would be okay with that because honestly, listen, King was a decent starter when he was with the Yankees, and he turned out to be one of the best middle relievers until he freaking blew his arm off, his arm out. I'm totally fine with King taking over as the closer role. Obviously, Holmes was the right choice at the time, especially when Chapman was hurt. But it shows that Holmes is also a little rocky in those positions. So we have tons of choices there. Let me tell you something.
Aside from Edwin Diaz last year, every team's closer was rocky at some points. That's the reality of baseball. We were spoiled for a decade with Mariano Rivera. And honestly, we made a pretty seamless transition after that to David Robertson.
We did.
Yeah. But now we've seen it with Chapman, and now going forward with Holmes, we see what it is. We see that it's a little different.
No, it's a little bit different. No, but the Yankees probably shut up. The Cowboys are going to win today and lose next week anyway. So here's the thing. I think the Yankee bullpen is honestly, and you're going to argue with me on this, it's one of the best in baseball at the moment, in my opinion. And especially when we get when we get Gil, and I think if we can use Gil too, we have Peralta as our lefty. I'm okay with our Yankee bullpen, and
the Yankee bullpen needs another lefty in it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. All we have is Peralta.
Peralta is the only lefty still left in that bullpen.
Right.
That's something.
It's weird. The Yankees bullpen. This isn't like a quarterback in football situation where if you feel you have 2 starting quarterbacks, you don't have any. They have multiple guys that can close. I don't think it's a bad situation for the Yankees. I just don't know how is Holmes going to respond to after last year being anointed the closer. And I mean, literally, he had that stretch where, I mean, everybody had him anointed. He's the next Mariano. I mean, that's how good he was for that, 2.5 months. And then, like a lot of closers, all of a sudden it got to him, and a couple bad.
Go through it.
Stats don't look that good anymore either, because all it takes is a few bad outings where he's coming in and it's he's pitching 1 inning with 3 hits and 3 walks and whatever, and I mean, that's the only thing I'm concerned with the Yankees is Clay Holmes' mentality if you don't make him the closer to start the season. I want to see what kind of effort he gives. What if he's focused as to maybe possibly being a seventh inning guy or an eighth inning guy again after you handed him the mantle last year.
It'll definitely be interesting to see. But one thing I would like to see, and it's something that both I'd like to see it from the Yankees or the Mets, and they could possibly, be going against each other. Zach Britton.
Yeah.
I think Zach Britton is a good fit in either one of these bullpens right now at a very low price. Yeah. I don't think Zach Britton's going to cost you a couple of million, but nothing where it's definitely a risk that could definitely be a very big reward.
I mean, he was one of the best closers in baseball a few years ago, and then when we transitioned him to the setup guy, he was great there too.
I know that's what I mean, and he would be an excellent fit in both of those bullpens. I got to be honest with you. So it's going to be real curious to see. I know the Mets. There were rumors that the Mets were interested in him. Remember, Buck was his manager when he was an all-star closer in Baltimore.
Yep.
But guys, all right, we're going to get starting to wrap up tonight. I got a question for both of you. We are 30 days away from spring training. What is one thing, Brian, I'll start with you. One thing you want to see from the Yankees and the Mets each before opening day?
Actually, it's the same for both teams for me. And I want both teams to give their kids a fair chance in spring training. That's all I want to see. I want to see Florial. I want to see Peraza. I want to see Beatty. I want to see Alvarez. I want to see these guys getting, and I'm not talking about, I'm talking about every day. I want to see them in the lineups in spring training. I want to see what these kids have. I want to see what they're doing, and not at the end of games. I don't want to see them in innings 6th, 7th, 8th against, as Lou Brown said, a guy who would be bagging groceries the following week. I don't want to see him against those guys. I want to see him against the starters. I want to see him against the quality pitching, even though it's early. I want to see him against the quality pitchers that you're going to see on these teams rather than the guys in the late innings. I want them getting at bats early in every one of these in every one of these spring training games in order to give them a fair chance against the best pitching that they're going to see in spring training to make the rosters and to be starters on their team's opening day.
Lou, what about you? One thing from the Yankees, one thing from the Mets that you want to see before opening day?
Two things from the Mets. You need a middle reliever and you need another hitter. You need to get something. Because if you're planning on this current roster, in my opinion, the Mets are going to be a playoff contending team and not even get close to the World Series. That's just my opinion. Yankees-wise, I'm fine with our relievers and our starters and our pitching. I think we have the best pitching in baseball. The Yankees need another hitter, but not necessarily a home run hitter. They need somebody who's going to be able to get on base, because I don't think Harrison Bader is the answer to our problems for opening the year. And we have too many strikeout guys that don't put enough of the ball in play to really rely on getting people on getting Aaron Judge, Anthony Rizzo, Giancarlo Stanton, the hits and RBIs that they're going to need to drive in these players. So the Yankees, in my opinion, need to start looking for an on-base guy to either replace Donaldson, have Donaldson just get the fuck out, or just sit him on the bench. I don't care. Do what the Mets did with Cano. Cut him. Don't care. But Josh Donaldson is going to be a big downfall, in my opinion, and you could use that third base for somebody who gets on base, and I think that is the right play right now. And I think that's what the Yankees need. They need someone who is going to get on base.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to go the Mets. I said it before, it's another arm in the bullpen. It has to happen. I think that is the biggest concern, especially when we're talking about guys like Verlander and Scherzer and Carlos Carrasco in front of them. That bullpen needs to be solid, and that will help this team throughout the season, and it will help make Buck's life a lot easier, where you have to say sometimes where maybe in the 6th inning, you're thinking, do I want to pull him now? You know what? When you have a good bullpen behind him, you're a lot more inclined to say yes. When you don't, you're a lot more inclined to say, oh, let me try to get one more out of him. And with 38, 39, 40-year-old guys, you know, it's going to catch up to you when you keep every start having to say, I got to get one more out of him.
Yeah.
And for the Yankees, see, I'm going to kind of go opposite of what Lou said, because ultimately I want to see what Brian said. I want to see these kids play. I said it earlier. I'll say it again. That's what I want. But I'm going to accept the reality that Josh Donaldson is a Yankee for one more year. And I want to see Josh Donaldson perform in spring training and give us a reason for optimism going into the season. If he's going to be here, we need him to produce. And he's going to be here because the Yankees are not going to eat that contract. They never have, and they never will. If they didn't eat contracts when Alex Rodriguez was suspended for 162 games for doing steroids again, they're not eating Josh Donaldson's contract now. It's not going to happen. He's going to be on this team most likely for the entire season. So I want to see him produce because we need him to produce. And if he can give us anything halfway decent, that makes the bottom of that lineup a lot longer. And that's what we really do need. We looked at the Yankee lineup, and all three of us said it ourselves last year. We laughed at the bottom of that lineup a lot. We all did.
A little bit.
Get Donaldson hitting. Hopefully at some point this year, we may still see, remember the catcher we got in the Gary Sanchez trade, Ben Rotrevert. I probably just mangled his last name, but you know who I mean?
Ben Rotrevert, yeah.
Yeah. That could be another guy that could come in possibly in spring training, do something, and help make the bottom of that lineup look a lot better.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap us up for tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. We will be back in 2 weeks. We're going to do every other Monday until the season starts, until we get really into spring training. Then we'll be back with you every week. Until then, enjoy the rest of the football season. I cannot wait for Saturday night. Let's go Giants. Lou, Brian, it's been a pleasure as always. Say what you got to say, boys.
Let's go Yankees. Let's go Mets. Let's go Giants, taking off those Phillies. We're going to see an upset next week, boys. We're going to see an upset, but then we're going to lose to the 49ers.
Philly.
I'm okay with that.
Move Philly. Thank you, Craig.
Philly.
Have a good one, guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you guys later. See you in 2 Mondays.